So hello everybody and welcome to today's session. Thank you for joining us for this session on mastering your Oxford Executive MBA application. So to briefly introduce the team here today, I'm Hannah and I'm a recruitment manager for the Executive MBA at Oxford. I've worked at the business school for over 10 years and spent half of this time in the Executive MBA team. And part of my role is to support people like you on their journey to becoming an Oxford student. I'm also joined here by my colleague Alex Macknamara, who is a senior admissions advisor. So Alex has also worked at the school for many years and has helped hundreds of students successfully through the application process. So you're in good hands, and we're both excited to host today's session and answer your questions later. You can see here the rest of the recruitment team on this slide. So we each look after different areas and regions around the world, which means you always have someone dedicated to helping you wherever you're based in the world. Next slide, please, Jo. So we understand that making that first step and applying for the Oxford Executive MBA for many people can be quite daunting. There's the investment of time, the multiple conversations that you have to have with various stakeholders, even things such as how long will the application take me to complete? And we often have people ask us, am I even right for the programme? So in today's session, we're going to share an overview of the Oxford Executive MBA. We're going to run through the application process, talk about what we look for in a candidate and provide some handy tips and then share what happens after you've submitted your application. So hopefully in just under 1 hour, you will leave feeling more knowledgeable, confident and keen to get started on your application. So we'd welcome your questions throughout the session. So if you do have any questions, please pop them in the Q&A function and Alex and I will make time for them at the end of the session today. Next slide, please. Okay, so what would your programme journey look like if you decide to join the September 2025 programme? What a mouthful. So the programme is broad, it's diverse and it's stimulating. Teaching is highly interactive, it's based around debate and discussion, and the programme is very reflective. So in terms of the format, it's a modular format. So this means that over the 22 to 24 months that you're a student at Oxford, you would study between 14 and 16 modules. And we think that, well, we know that this modular format allows senior executives to balance their studies, their work, and other personal commitments they have. So in terms of the cohorts and number of people we have 2 cohorts a year, one in January and one in September. So for the purpose of this presentation, we're talking about the September 2025 cohort. Each class usually has about 60 to 70 students, and this is really a perfect number for you to very much expand your global network, but also build very close lifelong relationships. And also an important part is having plenty of time to spend with world-leading faculty that teach on the programme. So in terms of your weeks on module, modules are Monday to Friday. And what this means is you would come to Oxford or you would study for your module Monday to Friday. You would then leave Oxford, go back to your home for about 4 to 6 weeks, and then come back for your next module. And this repeats throughout your approximate 2-year period. Modules are mostly in Oxford, but I should say module 1 is online, and then there are 2 core international modules and some optional international electives. And you can see some examples of the international electives here on the screen, places like China, India, Peru, United States and South Africa. So as you can see, it's a really global programme. Over the 2 years, you study 11 core subjects. So this is things such as finance, strategy, leadership, and you also have 1 project. This is the entrepreneurship project, and this is a way for you to explore or develop your entrepreneurial side. So you could be a seasoned entrepreneur, you could be considering starting your own business, or you could just be interested to learn the skills needed to work more entrepreneurially within your organisation. And I'd say this is a really interesting part of the programme and something that our students very much love. And I think that is shown by a number of these businesses have been launched in the real world, which obviously shows just how, practical and real life this project is. You also have 4 electives, and your electives are a way for you to tailor your masters to an area that's most of interest to you. So it can also be very important or useful if you are thinking of a career transition. And it's a really good way to actually get to broaden your Oxford ecosystem even more by studying with other classes of our Executive MBA cohorts. Next slide, please. So we often get asked by candidates when they're thinking about an Executive MBA, but why Oxford? And I think we could probably all spend a whole webinar talking about the many reasons why Oxford is a great place to study. But I would say one of the highlights from our students is the diverse community that they become a part of. So here you can see a snapshot of our most recent class, our September 2024 class. And you can see that we had 39 different nationalities represented and 30 different sectors of work, with 35% of the class being female. So I would say that this diversity is really important for us when we are curating your classes, but also very much reflects the values of the business school. Students get to surround themselves with over 60 of the brightest minds with the most diverse experiences from all across the world. So you can imagine what an enriching experience it is for everyone in the classroom. Next, thank you. And here I just wanted to show a quick snapshot of the international diversity. So these stats are taken across 4 programs, so 2 years. And as you can see, there's representation from all over the world. Next slide, please. And again, in terms of the distinctive mix of industries, you can see we have everything from people working in healthcare to non-profits to real estate, etc., etc. And I think one kind of thing that I do remember when speaking with people from the financial services sector is they often say the reason why they chose Oxford because they wanted to be surrounded by people from all different industries, not just by people that they spend every day with. So that's always something to bear in mind. So now I'm going to pass over to Alex.
Thank you, Hannah. Hi, everyone. My name is Alex Macknamara, and I've worked at Oxford for about 10 years, and like Hannah, around half of that in the EMBA admissions process. And my role is to facilitate the application process for you, the applicant, and for our admissions committee who review your applications. So I will communicate with all applicants when they submit their application and work with them throughout the process to keep them updated on what's going on, book their interview if appropriate, and then support offer holders in enrolling on the programme. My role also involves working with our admissions committee to ensure that your applications are reviewed. So I get to see the feedback that our admissions committee give on applications, and I can use that experience to share with you today some guidance on how to make the most of your EMBA application, how to understand what you'll need to submit, and make sure you're using your time efficiently and focusing on the areas of the application that will make the most impact. Can we go to the next slide, please, Joey? So here we have a snapshot of our admissions requirements. You may have already seen these online. We published these, and I'm going to talk through each one so that you understand how you can demonstrate that you meet these or make the most of your EMBA application and showcase your profile to our admissions committee. You've seen from Hannah the average profile of our EMBA class, and the nature of an average is that lots of students might have more experience, some will have a bit less. And I'm going to talk through that. So firstly, management experience. We ask for a minimum of 5 years management experience. Now, this is something that you either have or you don't at the time you're submitting your EMBA application. So this is quite easy to demonstrate. We just ask you to submit a CV, and we ask some questions around your roles and responsibilities. And you have the chance to expand on that a little bit in your essays, which I'll talk about a bit later. But mainly your CV. We have a template on our application form, which you can download that allows you to very easily show the progression you've had in your career to the point that you're at currently, and we can then see how much experience you have. You don't have to use our template if you already have your CV prepared, but we do understand that lots of applicants have not prepared a CV for some time, so we just offer some support in that. Next slide, please, Joe. So I'm going to talk a little bit about academics now. So we ask for an undergraduate degree of at least a 2-1 or a second class uppers, which is a UK grading and used internationally, or the international equivalent. The reason we ask for this is because while the program offers transformational impacts on your career and your network, it is an academic program. So you will be asked to submit essays and assignments throughout the program. And we want to make sure with all of our admissions requirements that we're setting you up to succeed, to really be able to use the program and maximize it and get what you can out of Oxford. So while we understand that some applicants may not have a 2-1, that won't disqualify you from applying, but it may disadvantage your application. So if you don't meet those academic requirements and you feel that your academics, which most people would have taken their degree around 15 years ago on the basis of having average 15 years work experience, you can still apply. And your application will be looked at holistically. So your work experience, your GMAT, your essays and so forth will also be taken into account. To showcase your academic background, we ask that all candidates provide their transcripts. And on the right-hand side of this slide, I've provided a sample transcript, and you'll see the transcript will outline the university you studied at, the degree that you studied, and all of the modular results that you received. So this is something that all universities will be able to provide. If you don't have it currently, or it's hidden in the loft, or it's someone else's house, this is one of the first things that I recommend that you go away and you try and get now, because this can really delay an application if you have to wait for your university to process an order to provide your transcript. We ask that all transcripts are certifiably translated into English if they're not already. Our admissions committee all need to be able to review your application in full. So again, something that you can look at ordering at this point now. And there are other ways that you can demonstrate your academic background if you don't meet the 2-1. If we could go to the next slide, please, Joe. We do also ask for a GMAT or an executive assessment. Again, the program is made up of a lot of analytical, quantitative, mathematical aspects, and we just want you to be able to demonstrate your comfort with those aspects of the program. So the GMAT is a test of quantitative ability, verbal reasoning, critical thinking, problem solving, and so on. So this is one way in which you can show that you're able to handle those aspects of the program. We ask for a GMAT score with a minimum of 600, or an executive assessment, which is tailored towards executive students with a minimum of 150. So you can take the executive assessment, and it's designed to be able to be taken without too much preparation. It's using the skill sets that you already use in your day-to-day professional background. We do also offer a waiver from this. And if you are considering applying for a waiver, we recommend you get in touch with a recruitment manager, and you'll be able to submit your CV and they'll be able to provide some more guidance around that. We have a QR code there, which will take you to some contact details, and we'll talk through them at the end as well. So don't worry. But to apply for a waiver, we would ask that you consider where you're able to demonstrate in your professional background that you are excelling using those skill sets that are assessed by the GMAT. So for example, if you're managing a large team or business, if you're managing a large budget and so forth, you may already be using lots of the skill sets that will also be assessed on the program and in the GMAT. So you'll be able to write a GMAT waiver request that outlines all of those points whereby you have that experience that you're using day to day, and you will be comfortable with the quantitative and analytical elements of the program. Next slide, please, Joe. English proficiency. So the program is taught and assessed entirely in English. And as I mentioned before, we need to ensure that we're setting everyone up to succeed. So we need to make sure that everybody is able to communicate, write, read, and listen to the entire program in English. This is for candidates who are applying that are not citizens of English-speaking countries as recognised by UKVI, the UK government. So if you are a citizen of one of those countries, the application form will not ask you to demonstrate any English proficiency. If you're not from one of those countries, then you will be asked to submit one of the following. So an English language proficiency test, we accept the options listed there, and there's some more detail on our website. Or you can apply for a waiver. Now, there's two ways you can apply for a waiver. Again, we're looking to understand from you where you're using English when you're applying for a waiver. So firstly is if you completed a degree that was taught in English. Now, we are the Side Business School based inside the University of Oxford, and the university's requirement is that if you're applying for a waiver having completed a degree taught in English, it has to be done within the last 2 years. So for most of our candidates, that wouldn't apply. So I won't talk too much about that. Now, you can also apply for a waiver if you have significant experience using English professionally. On the application form, you'll see a number of bullet points outlined of things that you'll be looking to demonstrate. And that's basically that you're using English in a professional environment day to day, using all aspects that I mentioned before around speaking, listening, reading, and writing. And that you're going to be fully comfortable with all of the aspects of the program that are taught and assessed in English. So you can do that by writing a waiver that just outlines all of those things that I've mentioned and where you're using English day to day. If you did complete your degree in English, you can mention that. That will help support your English language waiver, because of course we will take it into account, even though it may not automatically qualify you for a waiver. And that will then also be something that's considered as part of the interview process. And we want to make sure that we have those options available for all our international students and applicants. Next slide, please, Joe. This is also something that will be mentioned in references. So we asked for a minimum of 2 references. Generally speaking, it should be 2 professional referees, but at least 1 and maybe 1 academic referee. It should be someone who knows you well. So we're going to ask the referee some questions around your impact at work, your English language ability, the type of things that you're doing day to day, and how they know you. So it should be someone who knows you well, such as a line manager or a client that you work with closely. Some people will select a referee that might be the CEO of a large organization, that might not know them very well, that will know about them, but won't be able to provide too much detail. And while it's great that you are able to get the referee from the CEO, they might not provide too much information. This is really an opportunity for our admissions committee to get to know you a bit better and get to know what your accomplishments and your skill sets are from the perspective of people who know you day to day. So select someone who knows you well, that's going to put time into the essay, that won't rush it and just provide a short reference. You know, they'll put a little bit of detail in there that will really make a valuable reference. The referee will be contacted by us via professional email address only. So enter their details into the application form early, and as soon as you do, they will be contacted by us to request that reference. It's a very easy process for your referee. They'll be provided a link and it will upload directly onto your application form, and you'll be automatically notified when each reference is submitted. So try and avoid family or friends here. Make sure it's a professional referee, a colleague, a manager, a peer, a client, somebody like that. And this is something that does slow down the application process. So make sure you're speaking to your referee, you're preparing them to expect when you submit their details and they'll receive that notification. Next slide, please, Joe. Now the essays. Now this is arguably the most time-consuming aspect of the application form, and it's something you should take seriously, because the 3 essays which are titled here and the video essay are really an opportunity for us to get to know you better again, for you to showcase different aspects of your background, personally and professionally, that we want to get to know. So the 3 essays, the first essay is a personal statement, essentially. Outline your objectives and what you're looking to achieve from the programme and how the MBA will help you achieve them. So we want to know here that you've done your research around the programme, you've really thought about what the programme is going to help you do and why you'd be suitable for the programme and for the networking class. Essay 2 is a self-reflective essay. This is an opportunity, as I say, for us to get to know you a bit better. We want to understand what your strengths and weaknesses are. We want you to self-reflect here, so it's not a reference. You don't need to go and look for feedback from colleagues. Make sure you're writing it about yourself. And this is an example, again, for us just to know what kind of personality you'll be in the class, like how are you able to communicate with your peers and so forth. And then essay 3 is the longest essay. This will be the biggest time commitment, and we really recommend you put lots of time into this. So this is an analytical essay around asking you to look at some issues within your organization that could be viewed as problematic, and then writing some action plans around that. So this is an opportunity to support if you're applying for a GMAT waiver and demonstrate that you have those analytical skills, because within the essay, when you're reflecting on those 3 action plans, you'll need to create your argument, you'll need to analyze it, and then you'll need to write a conclusion. And 2,000 words is enough for you to do that. So make sure that you are meeting that word count and you're putting the time into it. And then the video essay is up to 2 minutes long. It's done within your application form, and that's to support essay 3. And you will present on the 3 action plans, and you will present as though you are pitching this to senior leaders within the organization on the action plan that you've selected and you think that they should use based on all of the analysis you've done within the essay. If we could go on to the next slide, please. This is just some tips that we have around the essays. So firstly, read the questions carefully and avoid short answers. So particularly the word count. One of the biggest pitfalls is that applicants will submit an essay for essay 3 that is below the 2,000 word limit. Now, if you do that, our admissions committee are not able to get a true reflection of your written ability, your analytical ability, or the type of submission that you would make on the programme, which this is very similar to. So that will really disadvantage your application. And often applications can be unsuccessful because they have not put the time and the effort to meet the word count and really showcase their ability. Don't plagiarize and avoid use of AI. So this is, use of AI is growing, and we really discourage you from using it as part of your essay. We don't get to learn anything about you if your essay is written by AI. You will need to write your essays when you're on the program. So make sure you're not using it to write your essay here. We really want to get to know more about you and what your ability is. So again, if our academic assessors think that AI has been used in your essay, they may reject your application. So take advantage of being able to enjoy this process. It might be something that once you've done it, that you can use to help improve your organization or used in discussions with your line managers or senior members of the organization. Next slide, please, Joe. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about the process once you've submitted your application. Once you've got your references, you've written your essays, you've submitted your CV, you've got your transcripts, and you've submitted your application. What happens next? If you could move to the next slide, please, Joe. So this is the ideal timeline for a successful applicant. You'll complete your application online. It will go forward for first review once it's complete by our admissions committee. At this point, you will either be invited to interview or your application could be unsuccessful. If you're invited to interview, I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. We will look to arrange it at a mutually convenient time with a senior member of the school. And then once that's completed, there will then be a final review process. All of these timelines are advertised online, so you can see when you apply exactly when this will happen and when you'll find out. And Hannah will talk a little bit more about that. And then if you're successful after your interview, you'll be made an offer to the programme, and we'll help guide you through at that point everything you'll need to do to enrol on your programme. Next slide, please, Joe. So the interview. The interview will be a one-to-one conversation with a senior member of the school. I've spoken a lot today about getting to know you better. We want to know what you're going to contribute to the class, what your potential contributions will be on different discussion points. And we really want that diverse professional background of students in our class, as Hannah mentioned earlier. So we want to know that you're going to be contributing to class discussion, that you're able to use your tutorial time, and that you're going to really add to the network of the school. And your interviewer will have read your application in detail. And one of the ways they're going to discuss those points is through your essays. So make sure, again, that you've taken time in your essays to showcase your ability, and your interview is going to talk through them a little bit more. They're going to talk about your motivations, why Oxford, what attracts you to the school, because we want to know that we're the right home for you. And we want to make sure that you are pursuing the EMBA and you're going to be able to make the most of it. The interview will normally last around 30 to 45 minutes. The vast majority of them are done online. And if you reach the interview process, we'll be in touch with you to help find a mutually convenient time for that to be done. Next slide, please, Joe. And I'm going to hand back to Hannah, who's going to talk a little bit more about that post-offer process if your application is successful.
Thank you, Alex. That was a really thorough explanation of the different elements and also some really helpful top tips there. Next slide, please, Joe. So one of the regular questions we get asked is around how the fee is split and how people finance the programme. So I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes talking about exactly that. So in terms of the payment process, once you submit your application, there is an application processing fee of £75. After you have received your offer, then you would confirm your place on the programme within 30 days by paying 15% deposit. So this is really important because, as I mentioned, it secures your place in the classroom. 1 month before starting the programme, you would pay 50% of your programme fees, and then just before the start of your second year or 10 months after you've started the programme, you would settle the remaining 35%. So I would say it's one of the reasons why we do encourage you to submit an early application, just because then you have the time to arrange these finances and you can kind of spread them out over the process. Next slide, please, Joe. So in terms of financing your Executive MBA at Oxford, our students finance the programme in multiple ways. So I'm just going to talk quickly about a couple of these. So some of our students will gain company sponsorship by building a business case. So they may talk about things such as showcasing the immediate value to their organisation, the benefit of the Oxford Global Network that they'll gain, and also how it can create organisational growth. So these are all kind of common points, but if you would like some more information about that, then you can find it on the website. In terms of private loans and other loans, so many of our students will self-fund and then use a mixture of loans or personal savings. So 2 of the loan companies that often come recommended by our students are Prodigy Finance and Lendwise. These are specifically for kind of higher education and come with longer repayment plans, which can be helpful. I would say always explore the different loans available to you because they vary country to country, including banks, etc., just to make sure you're getting the best rates. So in terms of the scholarships we offer, we have both some internal, and then I'll talk a little bit about the external scholarships that the wider university offer. So our scholarships at Oxford Said are there to support diverse and exceptional candidates. So we have the Directors Award, which is a way for us to enhance the diversity of each class. So there's many of these awards available, no set number, and these cover up to 30% of the programme fee. We have the Oxford Community Scholarship, and this is for alumni of the university and those within the broader university ecosystem. And these scholarships provide up to £37,500 towards the programme fee. There's also our scholarships for women. So we have up to 6 of these available, with 4 offering £37,500 and 2 covering 30% of the programme fee. There's also the Hashmat Patel Scholarship. We have a generous one full scholarship for every September cohort by one of our 2019 alumni, Hashmat Patel. And this is for people that work and reside ordinarily in Africa. There's also the Rudy Scholarship. So we have one of these available per cohort. This is £37,500. And this is for awarded to applicants with outstanding professional achievements. I would say that's a very, very kind of brief overview of the scholarships we have on offer. So I would encourage you to scan the barcode in the dark blue left-hand corner, and you'll find much more information about how you can apply for those, who makes a good candidate, and all the extra information. So the other scholarships we have, we have some scholarships provided by the Central University, and there are numerous options available here. And luckily it has this handy search function, so you can narrow down the criteria and see if there are any that are applicable to you. Again, I would say if you're interested in this, please scan the QR code in the yellow box and you'll be able to explore these in your own time. Finally, we also have some discounts for our Oxford Said alumni. So these are open to graduates of our Executive Open programmes or our Executive Diploma programmes. And I'll just finish by saying that, of course, we very much encourage strong, brilliant applicants to apply for these scholarships, but these are highly competitive and we advise you not relying on them as a form of solely financing the programme. Next slide, please, Jo. Okay, so just to recap on today's session, we've given an outline of the programme, talked about how to submit your best application, and Alex has very thoroughly covered the full application process. So we hope that you're feeling much clearer on the process and more confident to apply. So just in terms of deadlines, for our September 2025 programme, the next deadline is the 29th of January. So it should give you lots of time over Christmas to submit or start your application. And as you can see, applications run all the way up to the 1st of July next year. So as I mentioned, we always advise submitting an early application in the cycle, and this is of course to make sure that places are available and that you're not disappointed there, but also that you have adequate time just to really organise yourself, your finances, and fully prepare and start getting the most from the programme. Next slide, please. So I would say in terms of what's next, whatever stage you're at, we'd really love to hear from you. So whether that's submitting your CV for review or booking a call with your dedicated recruitment manager, they will be able to see whether you're right for the programme, see whether the programme is right for you, and help you with lots of other information that may be useful. And then, of course, please do join us at our up-and-coming events. So keep an eye on your emails and our events page. We have lots of exciting events planned for 2025. And also, I should say, if you would like to do any of these steps, please scan the QR code and you'll be able to get the links to the recruitment team, submitting your CV, and our events page. So I'll just wait a moment there. Okay, thank you. That's fine. We can go to the next slide. Thank you. Okay, so I just want to end by saying thank you everyone for joining us today. We really hope you found the session helpful and that we may see some of you at Oxford in the not too distant future. So this is a really nice picture you can see of a class graduating. And I think maybe many of you, which we often hear from our students, may even look back and think, why did it take me so long to apply? And many of our students will say that Oxford will likely be one of the best decisions that you'll make. So thank you for joining us. I hope it was helpful and hope to see some of you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.